From fearsome monsters to magical beings, these are 20 mythical creatures that people once believed were real. Basilisks. The basilisk was an otherworldly creature said to be so deadly that it could kill its prey with a single glance. The word basilisk comes from the Greek word for king, and this creature was often depicted as the king of the serpents. In the Middle Ages, stories of the basilisk appeared in bestiaries, which were illustrated manuscripts describing real and mythical beasts. These books were often used as teaching tools for those who had never seen some of the animals described within. The bestiary descriptions of the basilisk often varied. Sometimes it was described as a serpent with a crown, while other times it resembled a rooster with a deadly stare. Basilisk sightings supposedly happened all over Europe, Asia, and Africa. There was even a popular legend about a basilisk living in the Tower of London. According to legend, the bird would peck at the eyes of the prisoners and then gobble them up. But there was also a way to defeat a basilisk. All you had to do was trick it into looking at its own reflection, and it would immediately be slain. This is because the basilisk was so arrogant, it believed itself to be invincible. And so when it saw its own reflection and realized it could be defeated, it died. Krakens. The Kraken was a legendary sea monster said to dwell off the coast of Norway. It was typically described as a gigantic squid-like beast that could reach the size of a small island. Sailors claimed that the Kraken would rise out of the water and use its tentacles to wrap around ships and then drag them down into the depths of the ocean. For centuries, the Kraken was just considered a scary myth, until 1857, when a giant squid washed ashore in Norway. The creature measured over 30 feet long. This sighting proved that creatures of the Kraken size actually existed. However, scientists believe that the actual Kraken was probably even bigger than this. Even though we haven't found any evidence of the Kraken yet, researchers are still searching for it. In fact, there was recently a report of a mysterious giant squid-like creature sighted off the coast of Cape Cod. The creature was described as being the size of a school bus, and it was spotted thrashing around in the water. While no one can say for sure what the creature was, it definitely looked like a giant squid. Griffins. Griffins were believed to be real creatures that lived in the deserts and mountains of India. They were said to be half eagle and half lion, combining the power of both of these majestic animals. Since griffins were thought to live in places where treasure was often buried, they were believed to fiercely guard these riches. To this day, griffins appear in many different cultures, mythologies, but they originated in ancient Persia. Later, they became symbols of power and courage. They were often used as heraldic beasts, appearing on the crests of many famous families. Some historians believe that the griffin might have been inspired by a previously unknown species of flying dinosaur. Unicorns. During the Middle Ages, it was widely believed that unicorns were real animals. These creatures were said to have the body of a horse with a single horn growing out of its forehead. Because unicorns were so elusive, medieval Europeans were desperate to learn more about them, so they turned to natural history books for answers. These books contained detailed illustrations of unicorns and described their habits and behaviors. And it wasn't just regular people who believed in unicorns either. Many members of the clergy also believed that these creatures were real. There was even a famous unicorn horn that was kept in a church in Germany. This horn was said to have magical powers that could purify water. Of course, we now know that unicorns aren't real. However, that hasn't stopped people from trying to find them. There have been many reported sightings of unicorns over the years, although none of these have been proven to be true. Dragons. Dragons are mythical creatures that have been feared and revered for centuries. They are often depicted as powerful and magical beasts that can breathe fire and fly through the air. However, dragons were once believed to be real animals. Ancient Chinese texts describe dragons as benevolent creatures that were associated with water and rain. In Europe, dragons were seen as more sinister creatures that were often associated with evil and destruction. The belief in dragons spread to many parts of the world, including the Middle East and Asia, and they played a major role in many cultures. Mythologies. Today, dragons continue to capture our imaginations. They appear in everything from books and movies to video games and tattoos. However, it's important to remember that dragons were once seen as real animals, and it wasn't until relatively recently that we began to view them as mythical creatures. Mermaids or sirens. Mermaids and sirens have captured the human imagination for centuries. These mystical creatures are said to be half human and half fish, with the upper body of a woman and the tail of a fish. They're often depicted as beautiful and enchanting, with a voice that's so captivating it can lure sailors to their doom. Mermaids and sirens are often confused with each other, but they are actually two distinct creatures from different mythologies. Sirens are found in Greek mythology, while mermaids come from Celtic folklore. Both creatures are said to have a voice that can lure sailors to their deaths, but sirens are usually depicted as more bird-like, while mermaids are more fish-like. There are many theories about where the mermaid legend originated, but most agree that they were likely inspired by sightings of manatees. Manatees are large, slow-moving marine mammals that can grow up to 13 feet long. They have a round head and a paddle tail, which may have inspired the mermaid's fishtail. Manatees are also known for being very curious and friendly, which may have contributed to the mermaid's reputation as a magical and enchanting creature. Werewolves. Werewolves have been part of human folklore for centuries. They are said to be humans who can transform into wolves, often as a result of a curse. In medieval Europe, people began to believe that werewolves were real animals. This belief was widespread and led to many innocent people being accused of being werewolves. The term werewolf comes from the Old English words wer, meaning man, and wolf, meaning wolf. This translates to manwolf, which is a fitting description for these mythical creatures. Werewolves are often portrayed as being evil and dangerous, but in some stories they can be sympathetic characters who are struggling to control their animalistic side, whether they're seen as heroes or villains. Werewolves continue to fascinate us and appear in many different forms of media. Phoenix. The phoenix is a mythical bird that has been revered for centuries. It is said to be a fiery and majestic creature that can rise from its own ashes. The phoenix is often seen as a symbol of rebirth and renewal, and its ability to rise from the ashes has made it a popular motif in art and literature. The exact origins of the phoenix are unknown, but it's believed to have first appeared in Egyptian mythology. From there, the legend spread to Greece and Rome, where the phoenix became associated with the sun god Helios. In some stories, the phoenix is said to live for 500 years before it dies and is reborn. When it dies, it is said to build a nest of spices and aromatic plants, and then it sets itself on fire. From the ashes, a new phoenix rises and begins the cycle anew. Chimera. The chimera was a fearsome monster in Greek mythology. It was said to be a hybrid creature with the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and a tail that ended in a snake's head. The chimera was believed to be able to breathe fire, and was known for its ferocity and strength. There are many stories about the chimera in Greek literature, and it was said to have been slain by the hero Bellerophon. The word chimera has since been used to describe anything that is grotesque or monstrous, and the term chimeric is often used to describe something that is bizarre or unbelievable. Despite its terrifying reputation, the chimera has also become a popular figure in art and literature. Its unique appearance and mythical status have made it a favorite subject for artists and writers throughout history. Manticore. The manticore was a creature that was said to live in India. It was said to have the face of a man, the body of a lion, and the tail of a scorpion. The manticore was said to be very dangerous and could spit venom from its mouth. It was also said to have sharp claws and teeth, and was very aggressive. There are many stories about the manticore in ancient texts, and it was believed to be a real animal until relatively recently. The word manticore actually comes from Persian mythology, and it was originally called the marticore. In Persian folklore, the manticore was said to be a kind of genie that lived in the mountains. It was also said to be very intelligent and could speak to humans. However, the manticore was also very evil and would often harm humans. Fauns and satyrs. Fauns and satyrs are mythical creatures that have been part of folklore for centuries. They are often depicted as wild, untamed forest dwellers that can be both helpful and harmful to humans. Fauns and satyrs are sometimes confused with each other, but they are actually two distinct creatures. Fauns are usually depicted as more graceful and elegant, while satyrs are more brutish and lustful. Both fauns and satyrs are associated with nature and the wilderness. They are often shown as living in caves or in the trees, and are known for their love of dancing and music. Fauns and satyrs have been featured in many works of art and literature, and they continue to capture our imaginations today. Minotaur. The minotaur is a creature from Greek mythology. It was said to be a creature with the head of a bull and the body of a man. The minotaur was believed to have lived in a labyrinth, and it was known for its ferocity and strength. There are many stories about the minotaur, and it was eventually slain by the hero Theseus. The word minotaur comes from the Greek words Minos and Tauros, which means son of Minos. Minos was a king of Crete, and the minotaur was said to be his son. The minotaur is often seen as a symbol of the wild and untamed aspects of human nature. It represents our fears of the unknown and our fascination with the monstrous. Golems. Golems are creatures from Jewish mysticism. They are said to be animated bodies made of clay or other natural materials. Golems are often depicted as servants or guardians, and they are known for their strength and obedience. The word golem comes from the Hebrew word for unformed, and it refers to the raw materials that are used to make the creature. Golems are created through a complex process that involves a combination of magic and ritual. They are under the control of their creator, and they will obey his commands without question. Golems have been featured in many works of art and literature, and they continue to be a popular subject in fantasy and science fiction stories. Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds are legendary creatures from Native American mythology. They are said to be huge birds that can control the weather and cause thunderstorms. Thunderbirds are often depicted as having great power and wisdom, and they are seen as protectors of the people. There are many stories about thunderbirds in Native American folklore, and they are often featured in ceremonies and rituals. The thunderbird is a powerful symbol in Native American culture, and it represents the connection between the people and the natural world. It is also a reminder of the importance of respecting the power of nature. Yale. The Yale was a real creature that was described in medieval bestiaries. It was said to be a type of deer with swiveling horns that could be used as weapons. The Yale was believed to live in the mountains and forests of Asia and Africa, and it was said to be very elusive and difficult to hunt. Despite its elusive nature, there are many accounts of Yale sightings in medieval texts. It was often depicted as a noble and majestic creature, and it was sometimes used as a symbol of strength and power. Cyclops. The Cyclops was a creature from Greek mythology. It was said to be a giant with a single eye in the middle of its forehead. Cyclops were believed to live in caves and were known for their strength and ferocity. The Greek poet Homer described the Cyclops as being one of the primordial deities, meaning they were one of the first gods to exist. This makes the Cyclops one of the oldest known mythological creatures. While the Cyclops were originally seen as gods, they were later viewed as monsters. This shift in perception can be seen in the story of Odysseus and the Cyclops Polyphemus in Homer's Odyssey. Polyphemus is a brutal and savage monster who tries to eat Odysseus and his men. However, despite their fearsome reputation, the Cyclops have also become a popular figure in art and literature. Their unique appearance and immense strength make them a compelling subject for artists and writers alike. Sea serpents. Sea serpents were believed to be real creatures by Viking sailors during the 9th and 10th centuries. They were said to be gigantic snakes that lived in the ocean and could reach lengths of up to 400 feet. Sea serpents were often depicted as having multiple heads and were believed to be responsible for the disappearance of ships at sea. While there is no scientific evidence to support the existence of sea serpents, there are many reports of strange sea creatures that have never been identified. It's possible that some of these reports may have been inspired by real animals, such as oarfish, which can grow to be over 50 feet long. However, it's also possible that sea serpents were nothing more than the product of sailors' imaginations. Mandrake roots. Mandrake roots were believed to be real creatures that lived in the ground. They were said to be humanoid in shape and were known for their ability to scream when they were pulled from the earth. The word mandrake comes from the Latin word mandicus, which means little earth devil. Mandrake roots were often depicted as having a face and limbs, and they were believed to be able to cause harm to those who touched them. While there is no scientific evidence to support the existence of mandrake roots, there are many stories about them in folklore and mythology. Some people believe that mandrake roots are still out there waiting to be discovered. Wendigo. The Wendigo is a creature from Native American folklore. It is said to be a spirit of greed and gluttony that can possess humans. The Wendigo is often depicted as a monster with an insatiable appetite for human flesh. The word Wendigo comes from the Algonquin word, Wentkika, which means evil spirit. Wendigos are often featured in horror stories and are used to represent the dark side of human nature. The Wendigo is a reminder of the importance of community and the dangers of selfishness. Fairies. Fairies are mythical creatures that have been part of folklore for centuries. They are often depicted as magical beings that can bring good or bad luck to those who encounter them. Fairies were once believed to be real and were often blamed for things like stealing children or causing illness. In some stories, fairies are seen as helpful and benevolent, while in others they are mischievous and malevolent. Whether they are good or evil, fairies are definitely a force to be reckoned with. They are powerful and unpredictable and should not be messed with. Fairies continue to capture our imaginations today, and they remain a popular subject in fantasy and paranormal romance stories. Now, it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which of these creatures you would want to meet. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, then be sure to check out more content. With that, thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.